Democrat of the day, Senate District 44. Leslie Lienemann is kind enough to join us. She is, this is an open seat. We're going to try to hold it for the DFL. It does sound like there's going to be a primary up there. She's kind enough to join us to talk about her campaign and why she wants to represent Senate District 44. Hello, Leslie.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm well, thanks.
Yeah, that's good. You, of course, made the decision here. You're going to run for Senate District 44. We should mention with the redistricting, why don't you describe exactly where Senate District 44 is now?
Our district now has most of Maplewood, Oakdale, North St. Paul, and Little Canada.
Mm-hmm. And Pine Springs, too, isn't it? It goes across 694 to get a little bit of that in there, right?
A little bit of that,
yeah. So it basically curves around the northeast side of the metro. It is going to be an open seat now, though. Have you ever had aspirations of running for political office before?
I have not done that. I just got really on fire last fall because of the issues and decided I wanted to be on the front line.
I don't blame you. You look at this stuff like the Jensen video, and you're like, really? Really? We are still at this point. It's either, okay, we can either have the seventh circle of hell or a normal life. Well, let's see. Those are our two choices. And how many people are turning the seventh circle in and giving that a chance? I mean, no, I completely agree with you. And it's if we grew up in a world where the idea that this was going to be a better world was sold to us. And the reality is that there are too many people that are trying to pull us back, and we've got to fight for it at this point.
Well, for me, it was the Texas-style voting right restrictions, reproductive rights restrictions, the attacks on the LGBTQ community and trans kids, all of that is just unconscionable, on top of the real issues that we have going on that we're not looking at, like a critical lack of healthcare workers, rising cost of living that's making it hard for families to make ends meet. These are the real issues we should be focusing on while the Republicans are trying to tear apart our society and our democracy.
Amen. They indeed are. Hey, for everyone out there, why don't we describe, give everyone a little bit of a background exactly on who you are. Who exactly is Leslie Lienemann?
Well, funny you were talking about hockey because I'm a hockey mom, but I'm also a civil rights attorney, and I've been doing that for 30 years with representing people who are discriminated against or harassed because of who they are. And so this is a natural progression for me. I've worked on some legislation and testified at the legislature, but I just have gotten to the point where the issues are so on fire, I want to be on the front line fighting.
Let's talk a little bit about the civil rights attorney, because, I mean, obviously that's got to give you a very good perspective on what is going on the ground, what needs to be addressed. What are some of the things that you've taken from your civil rights attorney experience that you would like to apply if you become the senator for Senate District 44?
Well, first of all, I know how to stand up to bullies.
Yeah.
And that's quite helpful in the legislature, I understand, these days. But more importantly, I understand what the barriers are for people. Minnesota workers work really hard, and they are in a position right now where it doesn't matter how hard they work, they can't make enough to pay for the things their families need, and that is a problem. We have that lack of economic security here for hardworking people, and that's not going to stand us in good stead for our state. I mean, we have to deal with infrastructure issues, and we have to deal with cost of living issues.
This district is very blue collar here. And I mean, we've kind of gone through a little bit of a workers' revolution where, after years, 40 years of Republicans promising, wine and roses, the reality is that their economic policies, especially when it comes to employment, have never fallen through. Wages have not kept up. Benefits are non-existent. And basically, once the pandemic started to ease up last year, people were like, well, I'm not going to go back and work for these people. And people were infuriated that, why won't you come work for my substandard job that's not going to pay you very well? It's kind of the same thing we're seeing with the teachers to a point right now, is that there is this fight that's out there that we need to make sure that the jobs that are available are the good paying jobs that actually give people, they don't have to work one whole 40-hour shift a week just to pay for daycare.
Well, we aren't supporting our teachers, and we aren't supporting our healthcare workers, and we aren't providing the type of training programs that we should. Not every kid should go to a 4-year college, although I did, and it's wonderful for some. We need to invest in the programs that will allow people to be self-sustaining economically. And it's not hard to do. We just have to be willing to do it.
When you talk about the other options for school. And one of the things I'm a big fan of is the apprenticeship programs through unions. One of your big endorsements right now, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, has stepped up and is backing you up right now. These are these trade skills, these trade jobs that are out there that you can get an apprenticeship, you can get work, right away. They're a great avenue, and I don't think people nearly put that out there because I think it's college or nothing, and I just don't. I agree with you. I don't think that that's necessarily they're perfect fit for a lot of kids, and there's a lot of options out there, but they just have to be put out there. And I mean, obviously, one of the endorsements you have is a great option.
Well, it is. And of course, I am a strong supporter of collective bargaining rights. We are a union family. My husband's an IVW electrician. And I have a college degree, but I can't build a house. But we need people to do those things. I can't build a bridge. We need people to do those things. I can't build solar farms, solar panels. We have to invest in our environment and our economy by investing in people who can make these things happen. We can't be so narrow in our understanding of what education and employment opportunities are. We have plenty of opportunities to make an investment in green energy in partnership with labor and provide good jobs that will be beneficial to our environment at the same time. And we need to do that now.
I will say one of the things that made me chuckle a little bit is, as you talk about, you can't build a house, but you are an award-winning civil rights attorney. I'm just a talking chimp. Feel like where I'm at right now. My skill set is basically, hey, Pop-Tarts, and so you're exactly right. We need to have more people like that in our society. And let's face it, I don't know a carpenter, a plumber, an electrical worker, a concrete worker. I don't know a single one of them that doesn't have more work than they possibly can get in right now.
Well, I think there are more opportunities there.
Indeed. Leslie Lienemann is joining us right now. You mentioned transportation. And we're going to bring up something that's particular to your district, this 7 District 44. As mass transportation, as bus lanes, as light rail lines and stuff has been built, the northeast side of town has been somewhat ignored at times. And it's not that people aren't moving up there. A ton of people are moving up there. I mean, a few years ago, they just finished redoing that 35E corridor, and that needed to be done, and they unweaved the weave up at 694. But the reality is that, there is a need for immediate investment into other transportation options into that area, because that area is growing and growing fast, especially even past you in these outer suburbs where the people need to come through. You need to have better transportation in that area.
I agree. And there are some plans out there, but also what is critical to the communities out here, they love their lakes and their trails and their bike lanes and all of that. Those are vital parts of our communities here as well. But we absolutely do need to have some sort of public transportation option that runs farther into these communities.
When you talked about the healthcare issue going on out there, talk a little bit more about what you would like to do, because obviously we've not only have had nurses and doctors that have been strained extremely, but you also have a lot of nurses and doctors that have walked away. If you talk about a trade skill that we're going to need to get more people back into, it is the medical profession, because just the last 2 years have done too much that have taxed people that they have walked away from it. What are some ideas that you have here to make sure the funding, the staffing levels within the medical industry, that they stay where they need to be?
Well, I think it's more than just nurses and doctors too. It's personal care attendants and in-home health workers. We have a real shortage of in-home health care workers as well. And the only way that we're going to get people who are qualified to do that is to entice them into our programs. So we need to make it affordable for them to come in, and then we need to pay them well enough and create an environment, a working environment for them where they will stay. This pandemic has strained it on all ends. One thing that being an employment attorney has taught me over 30 years is that employees want to make a good wage, but they also want to work in a healthy environment. We have to pay attention to that.
You got endorsement from Liz Winstead. Speaking of goddesses, that's a nice one to get.
Speaking of,
yeah, she's fantastic. And I mean, obviously, you talk about women's rights to choose. The choice is such an important issue. Especially, I just mentioned Matt Burke, who is the lieutenant governor candidate for Jensen now, who I honestly think that they're going to be that's going to be the nominee now on the Republican side. He is very much against it, and there's a lot of Republicans that want to push for these extreme restricting bills or even try to outlaw choice altogether. And I think that that's another issue, like you said, that's very important to you.
Well, reproductive care is health care, and abortion care is health care. And it is fundamental to a woman's right to choose what to do with her own body and to maintain the integrity in her body. And this has been something this is a fight that women thought they won back in the 70s. And here we are, and we are looking at the next generation and telling them that they might have their rights restricted. It's unacceptable. And we know that 70% of the people in this country believe that Roe versus Wade should be the law of the land.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it will be. I believe the Constitution says it should be, and most people agree with that.
Well, and as you said, 70%, that doesn't just mean the Democrats and doesn't just mean the Democrats and the independents. It means a lot of Republicans as well think it should be a choice out there. And yet this is, once again, what we're seeing is the ability of the far right to have the small minority control and the people that say that for personal freedom, basically limit personal freedom across the board for everyone else.
Seems to be a theme we've got going, except when we ask them to wear a mask.
Oh, heaven forbid. Heaven forbid, yes. They all love personal choice when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to vaccines and stuff. But yeah, they're a little mixed when it comes.
Inconsistent?
Yes, yeah, that would be the correct term there. So, Leslie Lienemann, once again, is joining us. Senate District 44. This is going to be a primary up there for this open seat. Obviously, if people would like to find out more about your campaign, how they can volunteer, they can donate, how is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
LeslieForMinnesota.com.
LeslieForMinnesota.com. I will link to everything a little bit later on. All my best in the primary here. Obviously, if you're a fantastic candidate, it would be definitely, if you do end up winning the primary and going through and getting into St. Paul, it'd be a fantastic addition to the Senate. So all my best as you get into the campaign season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.